Hello and welcome to today's video. So in this video I'm pretty much gonna be going about showing you guys a status build for my Titan. Sorry if I sound kind of weird, kind of coming down with a cold right now, so bear with me. So this is gonna be a Titan build, a Titan status build. I feel like I wanted to make this video mainly because when I use this build in LFG, or like I'm playing with other people, they tend to be quite surprised that, because most people just assume the status build that everyone runs is for the warlock or their hunter, because they're mainly the best build. But what people don't realize is, thanks to the changes that was made by Bungie for how the status works on the Titan now, you can actually spam your abilities a lot depending on how you build it. Obviously, this is one of those builds that work really well when you're not in a GM, but outside of a GM, especially like in a raid or in strikes, I use it when I do my dungeon. Even when I do master dungeon, I still use it. Pretty much anything that doesn't force you to use a certain loadout or build around a champion, then you're fine. Everything beyond that, that's when this build will have trouble, mainly in terms of survivability. But obviously you can always do a passive route when you're using this build, but I don't think you will enjoy it as much. But let me stop rambling on and we'll get straight into the build. So in terms of the build, like I said, Titan status. Let me show you my fragments, which starts with the Whisper of Shad, which pretty much helps you boost your abilities by simply just destroying the crystal. You got the Whisper of Hadrons, which pretty much I use it because it increases like the stability, mobility, resilience, and recovery after you freeze a target, which is your aim anyway. The Whisper of Durance slows from your ability lasts longer, which again the idea is to freeze as many people as possible, well, as many enemies as possible, so that you're not as much danger as possible. Whisper of Torment, which helps you gain your grenade ability back each time you take damage from a target, which is obviously a free ability regen without doing anything essentially. Then you got the Whisper of Refraction, which slows or frozen target, helps you gain your class ability back, which means if you're ever in trouble, this should hopefully will essentially help you by allowing you to pop your barricade whenever you need to. In terms of my aspects, I'm pretty much using the Techdotic Harvest. Oh fuck, the code is really coming down. And I'm also using the Diamond Lance because come on, it's a cool lance. Why wouldn't you use it? Grenade, I always use the Glacier Grenade. I know a lot of people are a big fan of the Duxfield Grenade, but what I like about the Glacier Grenade is by breaking the actual like wall that you create, it also gives you back your ability, which Dustfield does to some extent, because if you can make it so that the Dustfield will also create like a frozen ice cube in the center of the dust field that you can break for your ability. But Glacier 1 is instant, dust field slows them down, then freeze them, and there's plenty of ice to break on the Glacier to essentially keep your abilities up as often as possible. So that's why I tend to go for that. In terms of the build, it is both a well build and a charge your light build. One thing that is most important for this build is a weapon that helps you create as much like ice as possible, which is why I tend to use my IS Luna with Headstone. This is easy. Go do the new DOA dungeon that just came out. I'm sure everyone has done it for their rocket launcher anyway. But yeah, headstone doesn't really matter what with. I tend to like it with my perpetual motion, for the love of God tonight, because I don't know, I tend to move around a lot and it gives me my stability and reload. But I also have outlaw and rapid hit. But all you need is the headstone. Pretty much precision hits, precision final kill will essentially create a stasis crystal, which again, the idea of this build is to create as much crystal as possible, so that as you're destroying it, you're essentially getting your ability backs. So let's start with the top. I'm rocking firepower. Firepower, I feel like most people should know about it by now. There's essentially, while you charge your light, throwing a grenade, it will essentially give you some of your energy back by consuming one of the charger light, which is quite simple, straightforward. To obviously get my actual charger light, I am rocking elemental charge. Elemental charge is pretty much like taking charge. Well, that's how I treat it. Mean, as long as you're rocking any form of well build, it doesn't matter what elements you're rocking or what, like if it's solar void, doesn't really matter. The idea is essentially, if I pick up any form of well, it will give me charge with light. So any well at all, I will get charged with light, which will then allow me to use my firepower. Now, on top of that, I'm also running elemental shard. Elemental shard is pretty much, instead of getting a well on the floor, it pretty much counts your stasis shard. So like I said, the shard that is created by your glacier grenade, the shard that is created when you kill a frozen target, the shard that you get from just throwing a grenade or doing a melee, or my IS Luna, will essentially count as well, which will proc my elemental charge, which will proc my firepower when I'm throwing a grenade. On top of that, I'm running my Forceful Wisdom, which everyone should know by now, which essentially just buffs your ability when you pick up any well. Obviously, I'm not picking up a well, I'm using a shard instead, but it does proc it. The problem with Forceful Wisdom though, is what people don't realize is it doesn't just buff all the ability. Well, actually it does buff the abilities, but it prioritizes the lowest one. Meaning, as long as you essentially don't use your other two abilities, the lowest one will take most of the benefit. The one thing about everyone should know about the Stasis Titan is your melee ability is dog shit. It's not a shoulder charge. It doesn't stay when you use it for movement. It pretty much disappears once you've used it. So I tend to pretty much avoid using it. Plus, the best thing is simply destroying a crystal or freezing a target or killing a frozen target will give you your diamond lance. Diamond lance is pretty much an easy melee that you can throw or even crash on the ground, and it doesn't count as a melee ability, meaning you could use your lance as a melee without using your melee ability, meaning Font of Wisdom is focused completely on your grenade, and obviously firepower is also focused completely on your grenade, allowing your grenade to essentially recharge at a faster rate compared to just spamming all your other three abilities. Obviously, if you're in trouble, use your barricade. Sometimes I even use my grenade as barricade because obviously it's a wall, so it still works, but you get the idea. On top of that, I tend to use elemental time duration, which essentially allows any benefits that is time related to stack. Now, the first time I read this was essentially I thought the stacking means if you were to gain a time ability, like for example for my ability, my Font of Wisdom, which gives you roughly 30 seconds the stack means it will go to like ×2 30 seconds or ×3 30 seconds and keep going on and on like that. Unfortunately, that's not what it does. At most, it gives it an extra 5 seconds. So it's not like it does anything major. But it does mean it will refresh the actual ability. Now, one thing I don't get that you guys will notice when you try this build is you do actually get a ×2 Forceful Wisdom by using this build, because for some reason when you destroy your own grenade, so when you create a wall and you destroy your own grenade, it counts it as double. I think it's pretty much the same thing that happens when you use the Art of Amos Light and you throw a grenade and melee at the same time, and it will give you ×2 empowerment. I feel like that's essentially what's happening with pretty much Forceful Wisdom, but I'm not gonna complain about it. It's a win-win for me. But yes, try out this build, tell me how it feels. Let me know in the comments, or if you think you can improve on it, let me know. I'll be more than happy to get some tips as well, and hopefully you guys enjoy it. So by simply killing, you get your Diamond Lance. Diamond Lance frees the target, creates wall, get another Diamond Lance, and as you can see, I get my improved ability regen ×2. Freeze your target, dead, next, freeze, dead, more lands. The lands do come on a cooldown, but the cooldown is not that major. Obviously you got your wall, which will create the lands, and as you can see, ×2. Guess what? I can keep stacking it up. If it goes down, look at that, refresh, lands, more lands. So essentially the IS Luna will help it essentially top up if you ever like spam your ability too much and you don't get it back in time. And as you can see, I also have my taking charge. Lance. Ability ×2. Lance. And the idea is just keep spamming that shit. Never have to stop. Slam me on the ground. See, there's never a reason to actually use your melee ability, because you can make it so that it's completely focused on what you actually want, which is your grenade. The idea is you want to spam your grenade as much as possible. And you can even make this even better by simply using like weapons that have demolitionist, for example, which means more grenade, and the more grenade the better. Get back down. So it's literally constant ability spam. There's never a reason to not have your ability. If you spam it too much, you can simply use your weapon and you'll create an ability. You always have lance. There is a cooldown on the lance, but it's like roughly, if I remember, 5 seconds, 6 seconds. Then it's pretty much back again. You won't even notice it's gone. Freeze. And that's also what I mean by like you don't even have to use your barricade, because the grenade doubles as a barricade. Anyway, hopefully you guys try out the video, enjoy it. Thanks for watching. See you next time.
Why you mad? I got a bad bro. Name hot in these streets, no Tabasco. But I'm so stuck, that's a fact, yo. And if you think I'm frontin', you can run it back, yo. Go run it back. You know that I run it. Everything you wanna do, I already done it. And I got your little boo telling me she love me.